Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show. Man, I got to tell you guys, I am excited about the show today. I got my friend Ivan Raiklin and my new friend, because I haven't had the opportunity to meet him before, but my new friend Stewart Rhodes is on of the Oath Keepers. And, interestingly enough, despite the fact that these guys have had their names dragged through the mud for nonstop for God knows how long, most of them are still standing strong for MAGA, standing strong and doing the right thing, just like they did from the beginning. Of course, they were set up by a bunch of corrupt leftists and deep state monsters. We're going to get into all that. And in case you don't know, J6 was, to be real honest with you, just a straight up deep state leftist plot. It was nothing more, nothing less than that. We have evidence, extensive evidence of Democrat involvement from Pelosi to AOC to all sorts of people. We have extensive evidence of the same people being involved that were involved in the George Floyd riots, the BLM riots. and who, by the way, are still probably involved in these current round of riots that we've got going on. Of course, Pam Bondi's not doing anything about any of it. Because Pam Bondi sucks and is still not fired for some reason that I just can't even begin to fathom. Somehow, President Trump continues to have faith in one of the most incompetent, inept, or just straight up corrupt AGs in the history of the United States. I don't understand it, and I really can't even wrap my head around it. But while Stewart Rhodes and his oath keepers continue to be persecuted, attacked, and dragged through the mud, and while Congress continues to lie, obfuscate, and not have the balls to do anything about what's happening, we continue to see more and more evidence come out about what's going on. The latest atrocity, I think, in this story is really this absurd nonsense about this J6 pipe bomber. Now, they want to pin the J6 pipe bomb thing on an autistic kid who, I mean, by no stretch of the imagination could this kid possibly be a pipe bomber. You know, the pipe bomb that they found, 12 minutes after dispatch, that they knew right where to look for after the Capitol Police had scouted the area days before, despite the fact that there was a witness that said, hey, there was nothing there when you said it was, and then I found it there later because it was planted. Yeah, that. So this whole thing is just the biggest load of crap I've ever seen from beginning to end. And, the real problem I have is the same problem I have with COVID and all these other things. I don't care who's in the White House, who's in Congress or what. I want truth. I want justice to apply to everybody. I want equal justice under the law. I don't think that's too much to ask. We fought for Donald Trump to get justice. Not retribution. That's Susie Wiles trying to paint what Donald Trump is doing as something that it's not, because she doesn't want justice. She wants to call it retribution because she doesn't want to see it, because she's a deep state stooge. I am tired of what's going on. I'm tired of this corruption, and I'm tired of cowards like Dan Bongina, that guy, out there telling people like me that I'm a black pillar for pointing out the truth. I'm not a black pillar. I want you to vote. I want you to get out there and vote in the primaries, and I want you to vote against every single incumbent out there, save maybe 2 or 3. The incumbents need to go because they're all crooked. Nobody seems to have the balls to do a damn thing. So we've got to get behind this. We've got to make sure that I want this story out there. I want people to hear this. I want to do whatever I can to promote this, because for the last, I don't know how many years, the J6ers might be the only group of people on this planet more persecuted than those of us that fought COVID. And by might, I mean they actually were. They went to jail. By the way, hundreds of them were in jail after the first year of Biden. How many of the people that stole 2020 are in jail now? How many of the people that, now that we know that J6 was orchestrated, are in jail? How many of anybody's in jail that did all these crimes? None, because again, Pam Bondi still sucks. All right, we're going to get into all this, and we're going to get into it tremendously. But before we do, Grifter's got to grift, man. So please, we need your support. We need your help. Go to givesendgo.com/Renslaw. Givesendgo.com/Renslaw. Need your help, need your support. Listen, it's pretty clear that the Democrats nor the Republicans are paying me to do what I do. If you watch me, you can kind of guess that, right? I don't think I'm sold out. There's no funding for me. Israel doesn't fund me. Qatar doesn't fund me. Nobody funds me. So you got to back me. I need your support if you want me to keep telling you the truth. And, we need a couple of people out there that actually care about the truth over their pocketbooks. I care about my pocketbook a lot, which is why I'm grifting. But unfortunately, it's empty most of the time because, no one, without your support, I got nothing. So givesendgo.com/Renslaw. Please support me. Also, we got to support my sponsors, right? Because they pay me and we need to pay me. Givesendgo.com. Also, go to TomRenz.com. You got to type TomRenz.com. Shockingly, Google hates me. So you have to type TomRenz.com. You can't find me with just searching Tom Renz. But of course, we always talk about men's hormone support from Global Healing. Global Healing is one of my favorite. Use our link, use checkout code RENZ. I love Global Healing, and men's hormone support is awesome. Listen, I'm old. I'm 48. I'm almost 49. And but I'm still in good shape, right? It's because I make sure that my testosterone levels are good. I keep myself healthy. I eat right night I work out. Men's hormone support does it naturally. You know what the good part about that is? Your balls don't shrink. You know, if you use natural supplements to keep your testosterone levels up, you can do it without shrinkage. It's wonderful. Men's hormone support from Global Healing. All the benefits of good testosterone without the shrinkage you'd have. Also, make sure today I want to highlight one of my new favorites on this, oral peptides. So we're pushing oral peptides now, right? Now, yes, when you put this stuff in your stomach, certainly certain proteins break down a bit. That happens. It's just something. But not all of them. They do get through. And if you calculate this out, these guys have figured out ways to get this stuff through the digestive system to make you fit, to make you healthy. And I love this. And you really, I got to tell you, more than any other of my sponsors, the products from Make, and what you're going to do is go and click here on my link. You want to click on my link. There's links in the show notes. You can find links everywhere. But more than almost any of my other sponsors, what you're going to find is that Make Wellness, you want to stack their stuff. Like putting the Energized with the Fit before a workout is awesome. Getting energized and lean in the morning is awesome. Energized, and I love the Energized and I love the Fit. Lean and focused in the morning, that really kind of helps you. The Calm and some of these others, you put them together at different times and throughout your day, it really makes you effective. So make sure you're checking out our link for Make Wellness on TomRenz.com. You got it, or in the links, you can see in the show notes, everything else. All right, we're going to get to the show now. Let me start out, and I want to start out, and this is serious. So I made this video, and we ran this just before the 2024 election, and it was based on a lot of data that Millie Weaver had gathered, and some other stuff that was out there. And I'm just going to let this play because I want you to understand. I want to start out and explain the seriousness of what we're talking about here. So here we go. Let me show you. These are the real faces of J6. You know what they all have in common? Shockingly, they are all leftists and Democrats.
Is Sunrise here? Hi.
And they are all against Donald Trump.
It's got to go. Trump's got to go.
Regardless of whether he legitimately won the election or not.
He knows he's an illegitimate president.
Now, thanks to an investigation by Millie Weaver, we know who they are, what they did, and how they fooled us all into believing the insurrection was perpetrated by MAGA supporters.
We need to put the pressure on the Democratic National Committee to not have Biden concede.
And we now have the evidence.
Take over the buildings. There may be some people that are willing to break the windows to get into the government buildings. Yes, you can use disguises. You
Like burning buildings are legitimate and powerful forms of resistance. I love the term siege because I feel like that's exactly what we're going to do.
And then there's the National Guard. What would a campaign look like to go to all the Democratic governors and to make a commitment now to refuse to deploy the National Guard?
The real deep state is here. The evidence shows that these are the real violent insurrectionists, that they were behind J6, and they are guilty of fooling us all.
I was in the front. I also orchestrated it.
Trump 2024. So we did that right before the election. And we did it because we knew that J6 was a farce. We knew it was a lie. We knew that this was really a leftist plot to overthrow Trump and undermine his government. We knew what was happening. Everybody knew what was happening, but no one had the balls to say it. And to this day, I got to tell you guys, I'm fired up. These Republican cowards, absolute cowards. Let me see if I can, where is this? I want to show you guys one. Hold on there. Oh, yeah. Here, let me show you this one. Ivan sent this to me. Ivan, who's going to be joining us here in just a second, sent this to me. Let me show you Rep. Troy Nels, who apparently didn't get the memo about the shrinkage. He missed it. Let me show you this. This is Troy Nels at a hearing right away. Let me show you this.
Why would Trump supporters leave a Trump speech and breach the Capitol grounds before the speech ever ended? I've been to rallies, this and that. When the boss is up there speaking, nobody leaves early. Nobody leaves early. I tell you why, because there was never a call to violence. There was never a call to violence or a call to storm the Capitol.
What was their call to?
That was something the militia groups are craving and created on their own. The Oath Keepers, Proud Boys, Antifa, 3%ers. Bad actors that day. Gotta say it, bad actors.
Oh, they were.
They're acting alone and not listening to Trump. Stewart Rhodes stated, that if Trump didn't do what they wanted, they would have to do it themselves.
Okay, so this cowardly piece of shit, Troy Nehls, apparently didn't notice the video that we played that had 2 million views, by the way, just on X. Didn't really notice what was happening, right? Troy Nehls apparently doesn't know or doesn't care that this was orchestrated by his Democrat colleagues sitting next to him. You know, the guys that he likes, because he's nothing but a Democrat in Republican clothing. So Nehls is, he is what he is, and you can see it. It's just appalling. So this has happened. Now, at the same time, while all this is happening, I want to put this in perspective, because the real atrocity here is that we have these riots going on in Minnesota. And let me just show you what this looks like, right? This is in Minnesota right now. This is Nick Sorter's doing a great job. Congratulations, Nick Sorter, because you are an absolute machine in what you're doing here. Here we go. These are the peaceful protesters in Minnesota breaking into an FBI lockbox after destroying the car. There we go. Yeah. Congratulations, peaceful protesters. Okay, so those peaceful protesters stealing FBI weapons, guns, ammo, because that's like the good peaceful protest. By the way, the same people behind what's happening in Minnesota were the same people that you saw in the video at the beginning of the show orchestrating J6. Same people. So that's what's going on in Minnesota. Now, meanwhile, the riots in Minnesota, let's put this in perspective. Why are there riots in Minnesota? Well, let me show you why. Let me show you this. This is the very famous video. You can see it right here. Where's the play of a lunatic leftist moron, a Tim Walz retard, trying to run over a bunch of armed FBI agents. Guess what happened? You tried to run over them, you got shot. That's self-defense. So we're having riots over this, right? We're having riots because some moron tried to run over, not FBI, they run over ICE agents and got shot. Okay? Now contrast that with this. Let's see. You know what? Let's get Ivan and Stewart here. Let's get them ready and get them on here. Where'd Ivan go? We got to get Ivan on here. But I want you guys to watch this with me, because I kind of want to, when it's done, I kind of want to get your reaction. Let's go. Ivan will be right back. Let's get Stewart on. All right, Ivan's coming. He's got important things. He's coming.
He's grabbing coffee. He'll be right here.
Oh, Jesus Christ! Come on, Ivan. You don't need any damn coffee. So here's what we got, and I know Ivan's already seen this, so I'm going to play this. I want you guys to talk to me. This is Roseanne Boylan. Now, Roseanne Boylan, you'll see at the beginning of this. You can read in the captions.
2021.
She was with a bunch of other people. They're standing there in the tunnel. They hit her in the head with a pepper ball and knock her out, right? And they push all these people out the door. And this is, this is brutal, right? So the people are getting pushed out the door. They get pushed back, pepper spray, all these things. And you can see them getting pushed back here. Now, here's the thing. Once they get pushed back, and let's jump up here a little further, you can see, this kind of scuffling and back and forth and stuff. Now, let me show you this. Here's Roseanne Boylan. She is unconscious, right? Unconscious. Let me go back here. And laying on the ground. Now, contrast this again with Minnesota, where you have a peaceful protester who is trying to run over an ICE agent. So the left is rioting because someone tried to drive their car over an ICE agent and kill him. But let's look at this. Look at the unconscious woman on the ground being beaten in slow motion. You can see it. Look at her, unconscious. Look at her. Look at her. They're beating her. They literally beat her to death. Look at them, just beating this unconscious woman. Who would do this? This is sick. Now, there's a whole bunch more to this, right? Protesters trying to help her, trying to save her. The police won't do anything. This woman was beaten to death, right? This peaceful protester, who actually in this case was, she got shot. She's unconscious. She couldn't be anything but peaceful, but she got beat to death, literally at the hands of these crooked Capitol Police officers.
Lila Morris, MPD officer.
Yeah, and Ivan, didn't she get hired by another job shortly after this, like a promotion?
No.
So no, that's the pipe bomber.
You're talking about the alleged pipe bomber.
No,
Yeah, that's the pipe bomb.
Berkeley.
So hold up. Both of you are confusing something. Let me kind of clarify. I've been looking at this real closely. Lila Morris is remember, there are two law enforcement entities on the Capitol grounds that day. One was the U.S. Capitol Police that are directly reports to the Capitol Police Board that are run by the Speaker of the House and Senate Majority Leader. That's a legislative branch law enforcement entity known as the U.S. Capitol Police that operate under Title II U.S. Code Chapter 29. The Metropolitan Police Department is a law enforcement arm of the D.C. Metropolitan Police, thus the mayor of D.C., Mayor Muriel Bowser. The officer that was beating Roseanne Boylan was Metropolitan Police Department officer Lila Morris, who later in February of that same year was one of three officers, to include Michael Fanone and Daniel Hodges, from the Metropolitan Police Department that was sent to be the envoys for the Fedsurrectionists at the Super Bowl that year. They were VIP guests. What? Michael Fanone for his perjury and basically claiming that he was in such a precarious position.
Was he the guy? Was he the guy?
Lila Morris and then Daniel Hodges.
Was he the guy? Who was the guy that shot Ashley Babbitt that had the millions of dollars in healthcare fraud?
So, U.S. Capitol Police Officer Michael Byrd, who was promoted to captain for murdering Ashley Babbitt, is who you're referring to. And then another person, U.S. Capitol Police Officer Shawnee Kirchhoff, was the one that Steve Baker, through gate analysis, has come to the conclusion with a high confidence level of 94 to 98% that she is the alleged pipe bomber based on his analysis. And I think the other person that you mentioned was the one that was sent to UC Berkeley was the former U.S. Capitol Police acting chief. And before that, the head of Intelligence and Interagency Coordination Division, Yogananda Pittman, was sent over while she was collecting a salary as a U.S. Capitol Police officer. She was also sent over to Zoe Lofgren's district, who, for those that are taking notes at home, was on the J6 committee, and she was on the House Administration Committee as chairwoman, which is the committee that has oversight over the Capitol Police. You see how they cover up for themselves, folks?
Well,
yes. We can go into more details than that if you'd like.
Well, we're going to get into all of them, but I want to start out with this. I mean, so the moral of the story, and I'm going to turn my share off in case you need to share something here, Ivan. Go ahead and take it. But the moral of the story here is if you did the dirty work of the DNC on J6,
let's do this,
and you were willing to murder someone, you got either a promotion or a Super Bowl trip, or you're winning big, right? The allegations for the Babbitt shooter was that he made $100 million or something. Fraud is ridiculous, but so these guys are all winning big. So
I don't know if you can see my screen, Tom. Can you?
Yeah.
So this is Fedsurrection 101, aka 1621. And so on the left side, you can see my mouse scrolling around there on the top left.
Can we see that, Ben? I can't. I can't tell for sure.
So in the top left corner, you see Speaker of the House of Representatives. These are all the different seals of the different parties that participated in the Fedsurrection on January 6th. This is where my focus and investigation has lied. One that you don't see on here is the CIA, because we're getting more evidence of that the CIA had an involvement in it.
Absolutely.
But
absolutely.
So as far as the legislative branch goes and the DC, what I talked about earlier, DC Metro Police Department, what does that mean? It's the political leadership that would have had to have been involved, meaning the Speaker of the House is the boss of the House Sergeant at Arms. So at the time it was Nancy Pelosi and her Sergeant at Arms, Paul Irving. And then on the Senate side of it, all the way to the right, it would have been the President of the Senate, Mike Pence, the Senate Majority Leader, Mitch McConnell, and then underneath that would have been the Capitol Police Board chief that day on January 6th, was the Senate Sergeant at Arms Chief Michael Stenger on the right. In the middle, you see U.S. Capitol Police. It's an entity that is subordinate to the two sergeants at arms. And then on the right of that, the Metropolitan Police Department, headed up by Robert Conti, was subordinate to Mayor Bowser. Okay. So in order for a Fedsurrection to take place, it had to have been done with the knowledge of the sergeants at arms, the Speaker of the House, where the joint session was taking place on the House side, and certain members of the U.S. Capitol Police to facilitate the deliberate, incited, instigated breach into the Capitol. And what evidence do we have of that? Well, on January 5th, Mayor Bowser told the president and the executive branch that not to send any executive branch elements absent her authority and approval, meaning the mayor, to deploy into that district. Next, you had Nancy Pelosi, due to optics, didn't want National Guard. Paul Irving, the House Sergeant at Arms, said due to optics, no National Guard. But
That's
the chief,
excuse.
Secretary of the Army, Ryan McCarthy, there in the middle on the bottom of the slide there, Ryan McCarthy, Secretary of the Army at the time, also said due to optics. And Mark Milley, oddly enough, also said due to optic. That was code for make sure that there are no executive branch elements on the Capitol ground outside of MPD and USCP so that they could run the Fedsurrection cleanly without executive branch elements in the know, meaning specifically the DC National Guard and anybody else that would have been deployed. Except here's the deal, except for folks that they were able to work with in order to facilitate that Fedsurrection. So
that would be
two
FBI
offices,
informants.
that would be the Christopher Ray Epps, who headed up the FBI. And then you also had the director, the assistant director in charge of the Washington field office of the FBI, who was the one behind deploying the 274 FBI affiliates, if you will, onto the Capitol grounds that day. Stephen D'Antuono, who happened to be the Fedsurrectionist, or not Fedsurrectionist, but the Gretchen Whitmer plot guy. Remember, this guy, this agent was the special agent in charge in Detroit, I believe it was Detroit or Lansing, that in Michigan anyway, that was the one that was supervising those that were involved in facilitating that fake Gretchen Whitmer plot to try to assassinate her. Remember that?
Yeah.
Oh, I remember. And I want to point out something really critical, right? Because I know everybody on this call absolutely loves and respects Pam Bondi and the incredible job she's doing at arresting nobody. But since taking her position as AG, Pam Bondi there were 5,000 FBI agents involved in J6 persecution one way or another, 5,000. We have fired a whopping 150 or so. So we have all the same people.
And most of those were only in response to disclosure that members of Congress were being surveilled illegally. That's when they dropped the hammer on most of those.
Yeah, they didn't fire because of the J6 corruption.
Right.
No, you guys have gotten
keep in mind that not only our beloved Pam Bondi is involved in this in action, but our beloved Dan Bongina and Kash Patel, right?
We're getting there.
So what do we mean by that? So while Chris Wray and James Comey still run the FBI and the Washington field office, remember it was Dan Bongina that said, "Oh, I'm going to retain and elevate Steve Jensen." The same Steve Jensen that was behind the persecution against J6ers was elevated. And the reason why he elevated him is because Dan Bongina, in his infinite wisdom and his experience of running sources, et cetera, said, you know what? We're going to run this guy, Steve Jensen, to where he discloses everything to us. How did that work out for you, Dan?
Yeah, he's
Same
doing a
way
great
that
job.
it worked out for Judge Janine Pirro in the case of Jocelyn Ballantyne, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let's not.
I've got Ballantyne right here, who's doing
Hold
a
on.
wonderful
Before we
job.
go, I want to close out the slide. There's a couple that I didn't mention yet. On the left, remember, weren't there some pipe bombs and whatnot supposedly placed
there were
over at
some
the
pipe
DNC?
That the bomb sniffing dogs couldn't find anything that they cared about.
Didn't you see it?
Capitol Police didn't care about it, but they said there was a bomb there.
Well, oddly enough, you know that the DNC and RNC headquarters and where the pipe bombs were placed are within the U.S. Capitol Police's jurisdiction, extended jurisdiction. for law enforcement activity, training, etc.
Yeah.
So you see the little donkey on the left. Who was the chair of the DNC at the time? Tom Perez. So if I'm a J6 committee, or if I'm the FBI investigating this, every single person listed here should be investigated, to include those at the DNC and the RNC. Specifically, guess who the head of cybersecurity was at the DNC? Mr. Bob Lord. He probably would have had access to the video footage of the outside of the DNC headquarters so that we can take a look and see everything related to the placement of the DNC pipe bomb, right? I would suspect so. And then on the RNC side of things, Ronna McDaniel. But more importantly, the head of security at the RNC, Kenneth Capolino. Now, there are three people in this matrix here that I consider whistleblowers that I have spoken to over the last few years to help shape my understanding of January 6th. Shane Lamont was the head of intel at the DC Metropolitan Police Department. Guess what the Dems did to him when the Proud Boys called him as a witness at their trial to tell the truth?
To the Super Bowl?
No.
Did they give him a raise and hire him in the CIA? Uh-oh. Where'd your sound go there, Ivan? We lost your sound. Uh-oh.
I said that the Shane Lamont was called as a witness in the Proud Boys trial in their defense. And what did the Democrats do to him? They convicted him of obstruction of Democrat narrative. And he was convicted after the 2024 election. Yeah. Right now, he's rotting in prison, and he's singularly the one person that knows more about, has forgotten more about Antifa and everybody in Antifa in DC than anyone else knows. But yet he's still rotting in prison. I thought they were designated as a domestic terrorist organization. Wouldn't you want the head intel guy that knows all about them to be kind of free to provide that information? And oh, by the way, wouldn't you want him to also, the head intel guy of DC Metropolitan Police Department, as a whistleblower to expose the DC Metro's role in in Pelosi's January 6th Fedsurrection? I sure would. So I had communicated with him before he was sent to prison. Unfortunately, he's inaccessible to Loudermilk's committee, to the FBI, maybe by design, right?
I'm sure that's an accident.
I've spoken to Chief Stephen Sun on numerous occasions. He's been out there pretty vocal that, that Nancy Pelosi is probably the root cause of the whole Fedsurrection. And then the last person is the head of RNC security of that day, Ken Capolino. But he has yet to do an interview publicly. So there you have it. Those would be some people that I would like to call in to testify to explain what's going on. And you can see here in this little segment here where the U.S. Capitol Police is, the badge, you see a second name, Yogananda Pittman, that we discussed earlier. So these are just some of the names. It's a shorthand version of essentially all the organizations and individuals involved in the Fedsurrection. And I didn't even mention the cover-up aspect of it. So the lawyers are the one that cover it up, right?
Right, absolutely. Well,
U.S. Capitol Police Department, Tad DeBias was the one behind the cover-up and the weaponization against all 1,575 J6 defendants, to include Stewart Rhodes to my left here, and everybody, to include Donald Trump, because all the evidence that was taken from U.S. Capitol Police CCTV footage, manipulated, doctored, sent over to the DOJ, all the sworn testimony of Yogananda Pittman, David Lazarus, who was the head of dignitary protection for Nancy Pelosi, Harry Dunn, Akinilo Ganell. I mean, I can name you pretty much. Shawnee Kirkhoff testified in the very first trial against Guy Reffitt. So these are all U.S. Capitol Police officers involved in the cover-up of the Fedsurrection if they weren't involved in it already. So I'll pause there.
Let's not overlook the other part of this. Right. So you're talking about leadership, but let's not overlook the groups like Sunrise Movement. We've got Mother Jones. I mean, we've got ties to all these others.
Right. Millie Weaver did a great job exposing them.
Yeah, she did. She did. And one of the things that I think we need to understand is you're talking about the leadership in D.C. that was involved, although we didn't mention, the training calls with AOC or some of these others. But this seems like this was very clearly kind of a Democrat-wide, maybe not all of them, but a lot of the Democrat leadership, the big names in the DNC, were involved with facilitating this. And
wait, I'll fill you on a little secret. I don't know if I've ever told this publicly. See this guy in the bottom right, Ken Capolino?
Okay.
The head of security at the RNC?
Yeah.
So he, from the get-go, said that it was inert. It was a decoy pipe bomb that was placed behind the Capitol Hill Club because he was the first one to respond to it when Carlin Younger reported that there was some suspicious object behind there. So he then ended up calling he was actually formerly a U.S. Capitol Police officer, and he called the U.S. Capitol Police to respond to it from the bomb squad.
So they knew it was inert.
So when he was going to testify before the remember the weaponization subcommittee?
Yeah.
Under Jordan last Congress?
He's a real warrior, by the way.
So when Ken Capolino was going to testify there, guess what they did to him? When the general counsel at the RNC found out that Ken Capolino was going to testify before the weaponization committee regarding his understanding of what happened with the pipe bomb, he was fired.
No.
You don't say.
You're kidding me.
Fedsurrectionists gonna Fedsurrection, huh?
Just like the whistleblowers at the FBI were fired.
And still not rehired and retained to higher positions.
Well, wait,
no. Don't
tell me that.
Counterfeit cash and
Don't
Dan
tell me that. I
Bongina.
mean, as honest and trustworthy as this current FBI and DOJ are, it's hard for me to, because remember, they're cleaning house. We can't fire Pam Bondi or Cash or Bongina because they are doing such a wonderful job of protecting
Instead,
MAGA.
we deploy Dan Bongina to silence critical thinkers from exposing their inaction.
Yeah, well, I mean, we wouldn't want to actually wake people up and get them involved in the primary so we could bring in some people with spines, right? We don't want to actually have Republicans and MAGA in there. What we want to do is silence anybody that questions the rhinos and, go after those people but I don't think that's working too well for the bad guys. I think the Wiles Bondi team are losing on that one because right now, if I follow trends on X, it looks like, people aren't stupid enough to believe this, to be real honest. Right. There's a handful of little
they just yell and call us names. Meanwhile, we bring receipts. So one last receipt I want to talk about before I hand it over to Stewart. I've been going on a rant here. It applies to what his situation is. So looking at the U.S. Capitol Police logo here, remember Nancy Pelosi, through her Sergeant at Arms, runs the Capitol Police. But they also have a division known as a Dignitary Protection Division. And the Dignitary Protection Division has personnel security for the 9 leaders of the House and Senate. On the House side, it's the Speaker, the House Majority Leader, Minority Leader, Minority Whip, and Majority Whip. That's 5. On the Senate side, it's the President of the Senate when they're in the chambers, the Senate Majority Leader, Senate Minority Leader, and what's the last one? Oh, the President Pro Tem. So each one is assigned a dignitary protection detail. So the person assigned to Nancy Pelosi, David Lazarus. Wouldn't you think that if Nancy Pelosi ran a Fedsurrection and wanted to cover it up and go after her political opponents and blame them for the insurrection, who would she pick as the lead witness to try to convince the jury pool in D.C. that Stewart Rhodes and the Oath Keepers were the ones that ran an insurrection? Bing, bing, bing. You guessed it right, America. Her very own David Lazarus.
Wow.
Here to comment?
Yeah, so David Lazarus was caught red-handed by Steve Baker after the fact on video committing perjury in my trial. Him and Harry Dunn, Officer Harry Dunn, both testified that they were together that day to rebuff the truth that the Oath Keepers who went inside actually helped Harry Dunn that day, de-escalated a confrontation where he was about to open fire on some Trump supporters. They calmed him down. Got in between him and the Trump supporters, put their hands out towards the Trump supporters, their backs to Harry Dunn, and really just calm Harry Dunn down because he was white-knuckling his AR and screaming and yelling how he'd take them all with him. So in his first 302, his first interview with the FBI, Harry Dunn said, yes, the Oath Keepers helped me prevent some of the Trump supporters from getting down the stairs I was guarding. But that won't work for the Fedsurrection narrative. So at trial, he said, Harry Dunn said, well, actually, I was mistaken. It was some other group of people dressed like that who helped me that day. It wasn't the Oath Keepers. They were actually hostile. And he said, and Lazarus was with me, Officer Lazarus. So then Lazarus gets on the stand and says, yes, I was with Harry Dunn that day, and I saw how hostile and threatening the Oath Keepers were. Well, Steve Baker saw later prove that at that moment, Lazarus was actually in the tunnels under the Senate building. Can't be two places at the same time. So they were both committing perjury. Both have been caught red-handed. Both should be charged with perjury, and yet nothing is done by the Pam Bondi DOJ.
And this is not, by the way, hearsay. This isn't rumor. I mean, there's evidence of this. It's straight up evidence.
Right.
Blaze,
It's video.
Yeah.
So Steve Baker followed these two officers, one a U.S. Capitol Police officer, regular Capitol Division, Harry Dunn, and then another one in the U.S. Capitol Police Dignitary Protection Division.
Yeah.
well, this
Totally
to me,
debunks their testimony. And guess who probably advised their testimony? The General Counsel of the U.S. Capitol Police, Thomas Aquinas DeBias. It's funny how he nuked his account on Twitter immediately after the election, along with many others.
Yeah, well, there were more than a few people that did.
Yes,
some
he's on the
deleting.
deep state target list. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about this. So what we've established at this point is that Pam Bondi doesn't care about justice for people who were innocent and were well. You know what? Let's talk about this. One of the things, and Ivan Stewart, I want you both of you guys jump in on this. One of the things that's most phenomenal to me are the videos of the Capitol Police waving people in. And come on in, guys, come on in. And that videos of people, them giving them essentially tours. Now, to me, if I'm waved in and I come into place and then you charge me with trespassing, that seems like entrapment. Maybe I'm not that good of a lawyer. Maybe I am. But to me, that seems a little bit like entrapment. Can you guys comment on that?
Absolutely.
Because
right. If you're in a building and you're not being told you're trespassing, if you're being told you're trespassing, you've been given, a trespass notice. Now it's time to leave. But if you're not told you're trespassing, and in fact you're waved in, then the assumption is you have permission to be there. And that's why all the J6ers who wandered through the Capitol weren't hiding their faces, were taking selfies because they didn't believe they were doing anything wrong. It is the people's house after all. Only because of COVID was the Capitol, closed. Before that, you can go watch any session of Congress. I used to work for Ron Paul in Congress. I was there for a year.
Wait a second, you worked for Ron Paul? I thought you were a security threat. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So like you, I'm a Liberty OG. Back in the day, I worked for Congressman Ron Paul in 98 and 99. And so you can go watch any session of Congress, any vote, any debate. It's open to the public, to the people. But only because of COVID, they closed the Capitol, made a big deal out of the fact that people entered the Capitol. It's just ridiculous.
Stewart.
Hey, Tom.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Ivan.
So I'm going to share this screen, and we're going to make sure that everyone's literate that's watching this in the legal sense. So you can see here a little statute. Title 2, U.S. Code, Chapter 29, right here. But 2 is titled the Congress. Chapter 29 is Capitol Police. And then we go to Section 1979, Release of Security Information. Oh, excuse me. I got the wrong one. I'm getting ahead of myself. It's 1967.
Well, hey, it's easy to get those transposed.
Let me get that.
That is an easy thing to do. I get them. You look at enough law, it tends to run together a little bit. But
so 1967, paragraph B. Let me back out a little bit. It talks about law enforcement authority, and paragraph B lists the jurisdictional zone of that U.S. Capitol Police. And as you place that on a map, these are the boundaries. Okay. You notice that it is the U.S. Capitol Police decides on who trespasses and who doesn't in that jurisdiction zone in its Capitol buildings. So if you don't want to trespass Ray Epps because he's operating on behalf of your beloved U.S. Capitol Police Board, House Sergeant at Arms Nancy Pelosi, you ignore it. If you don't want to consider an insurrection at the U.S. the House Cannon Building in October of 2024, when they were in there insurrecting because they were promoting Democrat talking points and narrative, you don't criminalize them. Same thing over at the DNC when you had the Palestinian flag in December of 2024, I believe, where there were some firecrackers, this and that, where they were insurrecting. Guess what? If the U.S. Capitol Police, at the direction of Pelosi, doesn't want to prosecute you, you're not going to get prosecuted. However, if you fit the narrative of the insurrection that they want to promote, such as Stewart Rhodes, you can go ahead and prosecute them. And if they don't enter the Capitol, you create a conspiracy charge.
Yeah.
And then you loop in people that weren't even in the Capitol nor inside of D.C.
Let's talk about that, because let's contrast your experience, Stewart, with that of Ray Epps, right? So you guys are both supposed leaders of insurrection, right? You guys are both
supposed. Wait, one last.
They never accused Ray Epps of leading.
No, I know that. I'm being sarcastic, but I mean,
last point, Tom, because this is important. The other statute that allows them to do the insurrection and cover it up is this one here, 1979, release of security information. So we talked about suborning perjury. Yep. And how the general counsel was able to manipulate without any blowback or punishment, use this statute. It's the board, the Capitol Police Board determines what video footage to release. So what they ended up doing at the trials, not only did they tell the U.S. Capitol Police officers what to say, which was all lies and perjury, but also the CCTV footage, the only CCTV footage that was presented to the DOJ were incriminating, inculpatory, manipulated footage. And they wouldn't allow any personal footage to be in there to debunk it pretty much. And it was only after all the prosecutions were completed that when we removed Kevin McCarthy and put in Mike Johnson, that the videos started to be released to debunk it. But by then everyone was already convicted. So it didn't matter at that point.
But let's not overlook this, right? So Ivan, you and I, do that lawyer thing a little bit, and one of the things.
A lawyer.
One of the things. One of the things that all three of us know now is that if you have exculpatory evidence, you're required to make it available to the defense.
That's in
and
theory.
If you don't,
no. There's a distinction here, because who is the owner of the evidence in this circumstance related to January 6th? It's not the DOJ and it's not the prosecution. It is the U.S. Capitol Police, the legislative branch, a co-equal branch that cannot be compelled by a court to disclose that quote unquote Brady material. It's not considered Brady material because that precedent only applies to the prosecution.
So the prosecution wasn't given that. The prosecution didn't do their due diligence.
Well, the prosecution, the DOJ, cannot compel under this statute, because the DOJ can't compel the U.S. Capitol Police to provide anything.
The DOJ
this statute
also
protects them.
But the DOJ has a duty. I'm going to be a lawyer here for a minute.
Please.
The DOJ attorneys have a duty to look at the evidence. And if the evidence is
imagine you're the DOJ and I'm the legislative branch. And you're like, hey, give me all your evidence, all the CCTV footage. And I'm going to say, you know what? Here are four middle fingers.
Then I'm not prosecuting.
Here are my four middle fingers to you, Mr. Renz. And here's the statute upon which I'm relying on to not disclose security information. I'm only going to give you what I want to give you.
And so
have a nice day.
You have a duty to not prosecute.
Please compel me.
Let me interject.
Well, no, I'm not saying that they can compel you. I'm not saying they can do that. I agree with you. I'm saying that you have an ethical duty as an attorney. If you can't do your due diligence.
Talk to Thomas Aquinas de Bias about that.
Well, that's what I'm saying here is someone needs to have that conversation, because as an attorney, you have an ethical duty to do your homework. And if you cannot move forward
Not if
on a
Nancy
prosecution.
Pelosi tells me to keep that out for political objectives.
If the DOJ didn't have access to the evidence, then I would argue them moving ahead with questionable evidence to put these guys away, I would argue was unethical for the attorneys involved. That's my opinion.
The whole thing was a Stalinistic show trial from day one.
It was.
I mean, it was show me the man, I'll show you the crime. Oh, what's the narrative? The narrative was set February 16th, at least that early. Yeah. In fact, it was set in the impeachment hearings against President Trump. But a big tell is on February 16th, 2021, Benny Thompson, the named plaintiff, and a bunch of other members of Congress, most of them black, sued Trump, Giuliani, Oath Keepers, and Proud Boys, alleging a conspiracy to disenfranchise black voters in violation of the KKK Act by that's what they said, by attacking democracy. That's how early the narrative was set. Everything else after that was kabuki theater to get them to their predetermined destination, that Trump was the kingpin. And myself, as a leader of the Oath Keepers, Ricky Tario, leader of the Proud Boys, were his lieutenants. And our two groups were the boogeymen they used to say there was an insurrection here. That's why it's so disturbing to see Troy Nehls on Wednesday parroting 90% of that big lie and saying there really was an insurrection by Oath Keepers and Proud Boys, just that Trump wasn't involved. He just helped, like I said it, I said, hey, he's called a blue falcon back in the military. If you don't mind me cussing, I'll tell you what that means.
No, go ahead, brother.
It means a buddy fucker. He just helped the Democrats screw Trump over by inserting 90% of their false narrative in Trump's ass, just to be blunt and crude. But that's what he did. He threw Trump under the bus. Maybe he didn't mean to, but he affirmed 90% of the J6 Select Committee nonsense back in 2022, that there was a big insurrection, planned insurrection by Oath Keepers and Proud Boys. That whole false narrative, he 90% of it he confirmed, except he wants to leave Trump out. But that's only the icing on the cake, is put Trump on top, as the final piece.
I want to really talk about it because we're coming up on the end. I really want to hit this. Let's contrast, because Ray Epps was the alleged leader, an alleged leader of a militia group. And
no, they never said that. No, he was a prior leader of an Oath Keeper chapter in Arizona back in 2010, but he was disappeared from all of this propaganda. The J6 Select Committee cut him out of the video, did not show him or even talk about him.
That's my point. Right, I want to compare how his treatment with yours.
Right.
I want to talk about his treatment compared to yours. Both of you were allegedly leaders of militia groups that were trying to take over the universe. However, you who actually are a legitimate patriot, and my hat's off to you and my respect to you, sir. Thank you for still supporting our Constitution, our country. You did not get the same treatment that Ray Epps got, even though you were both, according to the narrative, allegedly leaders of various militia groups that wanted to destroy the country. Let's compare and contrast those. And I want you to tell me a little bit about your experience and throw in a little bit of Ray Epps in this as you're going through, because one of the biggest issues that I think we need to focus on as Americans, I think people, whether they can speak it or not, people are mad about the two-tiered system of justice. There is no equal justice here. If you're a leftist, if you're a sellout, if you're a political elite, you get away with anything. Take a look at the Epstein list. Pam Bondi covered for Epstein when she was AG in Florida, and she continues to cover for him now. Take a look at that, and it's very clear. I want to hear about you and Ray Epps. Let's talk a little bit about how you've been treated in that.
Right. So Ray Epps was on video on the night of the 5th in D.C. doing what I was accused of doing. I was accused of organizing the entry into the Capitol and directing people to go inside the Capitol, which I did not do. Ray Epps is on video doing it, saying, tomorrow we got to go into the Capitol. That's what we got to do. We got to go inside. And on J6, he's telling people, go to the Capitol. That's where your problems lie. And then he's at the first barricade whispering in Ryan Samsel's ear, the young kid that pushed over the first bike rack and knocked unconscious a Capitol police officer, allegedly. But he's whispering in his ear, right? So you'd think he'd be sitting next to me at trial. Here's an Oath Keeper leader from Arizona prior that is on video, encouraging people to go inside. He's on video, part of the initial breach and working.
Should we play the video?
Sure, why not? Let's
play the video.
Yeah.
And as I bring that up, keep in mind that on February 13th is when the impeachment hoax number 2, led by Jamie Raskin, was concluded with a not guilty verdict on February 13th. And 4 days later is when the lawsuit was dropped.
Yeah.
By the way, support, you see on the screen right now, before we put that video up, you just saw the Oath Keepers give send go. Please help Stewart, help these guys. I want to urge you. Listen, these guys they're being dragged through the mud. They've been attacked in every way, shape, and form. Listen, they deserve support. And, I always ask for your support myself, but I'm asking for you to support them, because honestly, these guys, they were set up. It was a lie. It was fraud from the beginning, in case that's not clear. And clearly no one in our DOJ is trying to help these guys. I don't know if there's a couple people in Congress that have been sort of useful, but for the most part, there's just no one really fighting for these guys, and it's a shame.
All right, here we go.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
I know it's been a long time, but remember Ray Epps. Let me introduce you again.
Do we have sound there, Ben?
Play the video.
Into the Capitol! Into the Capitol! We are going to the Capitol, where our problems are.
You can hear it, right?
It's that direction. Please spread the word.
All right, noted. But one more thing.
Yeah, so can we go up there? No?
When we go in,
Are we going to get arrested if we
leave
go up
this
there?
here. You don't need to get
Should we
shot.
arrest us? There he is. Whispering around Samson's ear. And he goes to bike rap.
But it was the other guy's here.
That's what, but he was whispering in his ear before he did it. But they cut that out. They never showed it at all. So my point is
Night of
that
January 5th, he is filmed yelling at the crowd that they are going to go into the Capitol, and again on the day in question. He is filmed at the front of the crowd, at the barricades, just before the initial breach. He whispers something into the ear of the guy next to him, and that guy initiates the breach. Then later at 2:43 p.m., a red flare goes up. 2:45 p.m., red smoke pops, and at 2:46, Ray Epps is in video being extracted from the crowd of an eight-man team, even though he was allegedly alone that day. Play that clip.
Every three-letter guy I know that was at January 6th, we all saw the same things happening. We all knew that this was an operation.
All right, let's hit a pause there on that.
That's Chris Burgard's voice.
Chris did a great job, by the way. Chris has been an absolute warrior in this fight. So tell me, Stewart, what you know, you go ahead and continue with this.
yeah. So we were not allowed to show.
Then the extraction. You want to play the extraction?
Sure, why not? Go ahead. We were not allowed to show any of that to the jury. We were not allowed to call Ray Epps as a witness. In fact,
Why?
we were not allowed to mention his name at our trial.
Why?
Well, because the judge said it wasn't material. Because that would show the actual. They would show the jury the actual plot and instigators. They don't want to show that. Same reason why the J6 Select Committee did not show any of that footage or even mention Ray Epps' name again. They only showed Ryan Samsel pushing over the barricade. They cut Ray Epps out. Like I said a minute ago, if you have an Oath Keeper ex-chapter leader from Arizona, why would they care if he's ex-Oath Keeper, right? He got a smoking gun admission. Here he is on video saying, go into the Capitol. Here he is at the initial breach, whispering in the guy's ear right before he pushes it over. You'd think he'd be sitting next to me at trial in a conspiracy case, attributing all of his actions to me. That'd be a open and shut case. But no, he was protected and disappeared from everything. That's how I know he's a Fed.
Well,
Hey, here's another a piece of evidence on it. Let me just continue the last couple seconds of this.
Watch the footage on top of the Capitol, and if you fast forward it and watch it, you really do see movement of individuals. You just see them moving through the crowd. The red smoke pops, and when Epps starts to leave, he's got 4 people in front of him and 4 people behind him, and they literally get him the hell out of there. They go behind the media and then just disappear. They said he was there by himself or with his nephew also. They got separated. You know, if he was there by himself, then why are 4 guys leading him out and 4 guys following? It's plain to see. It's obvious.
Yeah, it's been extracted.
Did we ever identify those 4 guys?
No, because they were covered up from head to toe.
I mean, I would.
Maybe it's 8 of the 274 that catch.
That's what I'm thinking. I want.
They could follow them on the security cameras throughout DC and follow them back to their vehicles or metro stops or wherever.
They could.
They could. The FBI certainly could discover who they are, but of course they don't want to.
It's shocking, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right.
Speaking of Troy Nels, did you already play that?
He did. He played that.
And then what about Moskowitz?
So I missed the old Troy Nels. It's really sad to see Troy Nels at one point was on the right track, but now he's hook, line, and sinker swallowing, like I said, 90% of the false narrative put out by the left. I'm sure Jimmy Raskin and Moskowitz here is thrilled about that.
Well, he's been in Washington long enough that they found some way to slip him something and get him to do something he didn't want to do, and they got film of it.
Well, maybe so. Yeah.
Did you guys play this already?
Moskowitz.
Yeah, Moskowitz.
Moskowitz.
All right, here's the Democrat commie shill.
This is really special.
To the FBI and the Department of Justice and law enforcement for catching.
Looks like a used car salesman.
By the way,
They're already acknowledging that they found the pipe bomber before there's a trial, anything, nothing.
Yeah.
He pled not guilty, but yet the Democrats and Republicans are saying that Brian Cole Jr. is the guy.
Well,
the head of the Oath Keepers is here with us in the audience. Stewart Rhodes is here today.
Clap,
not every
claps.
day, of course. Not every day, of course. Of course, sitting in the front row in the reserved section, which is controlled by my colleagues across the aisle. But
Thank you for that.
Here, I mean, I don't know. You have any questions, my colleagues across the aisle, for the head of the Oath Keepers that's sitting in the reserved section?
How do you feel about being set up?
I mean, he wasn't pardoned.
Yeah.
He's still convicted of seditious conspiracy. Something you guys say didn't happen.
That's because it didn't.
It wasn't an insurrection. I don't know how you get convicted of seditious conspiracy. Let me say thank you to the
Okay. I mean, let's look at this guy. Looks like a used car salesman. I mean, he just looks. This guy. I mean, someone needs to flick this guy in the groin. It's appalling. So listen. Here's the deal, and we're actually a little bit over. I know Ivan had a break.
I'm good.
But here's the deal. At the end of the day, Stewart, you were railroaded. This whole thing was a joke.
Yeah, myself, all my co-defendants, all the Proud Boys. I mean, several hundred Americans were put in prison, and 1,500 charged. So they were all being railroaded. It's all about getting Trump. That's all it ever was about, was stopping President Trump from being able to run again, or putting him in prison if they could.
And now his DOJ is undermining him instead of protecting him, instead of standing up for him.
Now his DOJ is carrying on that same false narrative. They are covering the truth. They are now involved in an active persecution of another innocent man, Brian Cole, to cover up the deep state. They didn't call as witnesses the two Secret Service agents who sat there and finished their lunch after being told there's a pipe bomb right next to them, as Steve Baker pointed out. They have not called Steve Baker or Kyle Seraphin. Kyle Seraphin was on the surveillance team surveilling two of the suspects in the pipe bomber case until he's pulled off of it. And he was told directly those were inert devices. That's why no one moved when they were told there was bombs next to them. I'm like, okay, they know it's part of a training operation. There was a Metro officer sitting there also. None of those people that actually were involved in discovery of the pipe bomb were ever brought into court, into the hearing to testify.
This is one of the most egregious conspiracies in American history. Between this and COVID, it's hard to decide which one was.
Well, I think
more
they're
egregious.
connected.
Well, they are absolutely connected.
Yeah, I call it the COVID coup. That's right. It's an ongoing coup and an ongoing insurrection that carries forward to today, which is why President Trump, I encouraged him in 2020 to invoke the Insurrection Act back then, and also to use his absolute power as commander-in-chief and president to declassify all the dirt that we know that the CIA, FBI, NSA, that they use, the intelligence agencies use to control politicians. Like you just alluded to, I'm sure they have something on, members of Congress that make them do what they want them to do, no matter what.
Clearly he can't, which is why we're having so much trouble with Epstein files.
Oh, no, he can't. He absolutely can.
No, I'm not saying he can't in the sense that he doesn't have legal authority. I'm saying that there's for whatever political reason, whether it's deep state control, whether it's people just won't listen to him, I don't know what it is, but for whatever reason, we see with the Epstein files, which are a political debacle second to none, and with this ongoing stuff. When I say can't, I don't mean legal authority. I mean, for whatever reason, it can't be done.
He's not doing it.
Isn't being done. It's not being done, right? So, and at the end of the day, that's really been the issue. Stewart, what can people do to support you? What can they do to back you? How can we continue to support you? We've got Oath Keepers on Give, Send, Go. What can we do for you?
I'm rebuilding Oath Keepers. We have a new website. It's oathkeepers.info. And we're just going to rebuild and drive on with the mission. And folks should support us on our Give, Send, Go, givesendgo.com/oath. But most importantly, join us in putting pressure on President Trump to do his duty. That's our obligation. We have to push him to do his duty because he's in the hot seat. He's the commander in chief. I believe he was saved in Butler by God for a reason. He was spared to give us a period of grace to save our republic and defeat the deep state. But if we don't defeat them now, it needs to happen now. If we don't defeat them now, then when they get back into power, it's going to be exponentially worse, not just for us J6ers and us hardcore liberty people, but for all Americans. They're going to continue and finish the destruction of this country. So President Trump, I don't want to hear any excuses from anybody about why he's not doing his duty. We have to pressure him to do. I think he can do it. He has the authority. He has the power. So we have to pressure him to do his duty. And at the same time, we should be doing our duty. We got to make sure that we're getting as strong as we can in our local communities. That's why I'm starting a project called the Strong County Project to focus on the bottom up, neighborhood, church, town, county, getting as strong as possible for whatever comes in the future.
Stewart, thanks for continuing to fight. Ivan, thank you, man. I don't know anybody that knows the ins and outs of this better than you, and I appreciate you coming with the receipts on everything. And I don't know how anybody can watch this and think what's occurring is anything other than a political shit show. And it's just appalling. I mean, this is an appalling cover-up. And the fact that Donald Trump's DOJ is still protecting the people who undermined him, stole his election, were involved with COVID, the George Floyd riots, and everything else shows that Pam Bondi's DOJ is every bit as corrupt as Joe Biden's. I think that's a pretty bold statement, but I think that's where we're at. Yeah. Fire Pam Bondi, fire Susie Wiles, bring some. We got to bring some justice in, and
fire Cash Patel.
The whole DOJ needs to go. Everybody there, the whole thing. Everybody. We need to start over with real attorneys and real law enforcement that care.
Last thing I got to push back on you a little bit for.
Oh boy.
See this? See this right here? The American Heritage Dictionary on the screen?
What you got? Yeah.
What does it say?
Retribution. Hey, it's the other side of justice.
Punishment administered in return for a wrong committed.
There you go. Hey,
signing off from the Department of Retribution Global Headquarters, sir.
Where I am, donate to that too. By the way, support Ivan. Make sure you're following Ivan. Get this out there.
The way you support me is just share the truth.
That's what I'm telling you. It doesn't have to
come from me. It can come from any one of us.
Ivan and I are working together to do the best we can to pretend we're President Trump's lawyers and then put together direct advice, what he can do. You get a chance to talk about Tina Peters. He should go get her now. She's a material witness to the election fraud of 2020. He shouldn't wait for some court's approval. He should just go get her as a material witness, period. End of story. So we're going to put together some written advice for him and try to get it into his hands if we can.
Well, I believe that the president is a good man trying to do good things, but there's a lot of snakes around him and a lot of problems, and we got to keep pushing. We got to keep fighting, and we really have got to get these snakes out of the White House and out of the DOJ. It's a disaster until we do. Guys, I appreciate it. We're over for the day. You guys should come back real soon because this was fun. And everybody, GiveSendGo.com/RensLaw, TomRens.com. Don't forget men's hormone support. Avoid shrinkage. Keep your testosterone levels high.
I actually need shrinkage because mine are so massive.
Oh boy, we got Ivan in the background. All right, thanks for listening, guys. We'll be back very soon.
God bless.
Thank you for watching the Tom Renz Show. Join us live Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern, putting an axe in the skull of tyranny.
Hey guys, my people tell me I need to do commercials from the gym. I say I need to talk about health, nutrition, fitness, that sort of thing when I'm here. 48, almost 49, trying to be in shape, trying to do my thing. Let me tell you about two of the things I'm most excited about right now. Men's hormone support from Global Healing is one of the best natural hormone support products on the market. It is the best natural hormone support product on the market. I love this stuff. It keeps men's health, men's hormones. It keeps you healthy, keeps them good, keeps them strong. Gets rid of brain fog, keeps you feeling good. Great product. Men's hormone support from Global Healing. We sell it, we promote it, we love it. Men's hormone support from Global Healing. Also, we've got a new line of oral peptides we're using. Let me tell you, peptides are just proteins. And some people say, well, you can't get through your digestive system. Well, that's not true. Proteins do break down your digestive system, but not entirely. They do get into your body, right? We have a new wonderful line of oral peptides. I'm loving it. It's helping me feel better, less stronger, more energy, better sleep. There's a whole line of them that we're selling. Check the link below. Check the link here. We've got the right links for all this stuff. But they're oral peptides, no injections, no GLP, and they're also all natural, healthy, wonderful things, wonderful products. I'm using them. I'm feeling real good about it, feeling strong, feeling great. Make sure you're checking out our links for our new oral peptides and for Global Healing, men's hormone support, and all the Global Healing products. Thanks. We'll be back soon.